welcome everyone to the OGM Podcast, where we dive deep into the energy innovation that is shaping the future of our energy landscape. I'm your host, Tina Olivero, and today we're exploring a revolutionary concept that could redefine the energy landscape entirely: repurposing non-economic oil and gas wells for geothermal energy. Now, joining us today, we have Tania Luna. She's the Chief Subsurface Officer of Primeval Energy. And Tania's team is at the forefront of transforming traditional energy infrastructure into sustainable geothermal solutions, making the most of existing wells to unlock new energy potential. Very, very interesting conversation, Tania. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Tina, for having me tonight, this morning. This is great.
Right.
I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm in Newfoundland and you're in Dubai. It's great that we can have these conversations around the globe. So super interesting. I thought we would start the conversation off by telling us a bit about your role. You have a similar background to me. You came from oil and gas. Now you've moved into sustainable energy. Tell us about what led up to your position at Primeval Energy and, as a chief subsurface officer, how that all came about.
Well, this has been a ride. I started almost 20 years ago in the oil and gas industry, and had opportunity to reestablish, pivot and do something that I really liked that was to try to do renewables. When I joined my postgrad studies, I had the opportunity to oversee all the technologies, the renewable energy technologies, and I try to go into another, but my heart to say, like, okay, follow geothermal. It was just passion about it, and I had great contacts with connection with Andy, and that's how we start talking about Primeval and solutions as well. So that was a great start, and to be as a chief subsurface officer at Primeval. So we both are in the company, we complement each other, from the thermal services, from open loop to closed loop. So we put together a very solid team, and I think that was a head start for the company.
Got it. Now, this concept of repurposing non-economic oil and gas wells for geothermal is like a brand new concept, and it's an exciting concept. So can you take us, like, for the people who don't know anything about this, can you take us right back to the basics and tell us, like, how you're exploring this, how it's starting to come about? What it's all about? How does this actually work?
Well, this is a very exciting part of the whole geothermal spectrum. So for all the audience, as you mentioned, our company focus on, we are technology agnostic. So we implement projects depending the area, location, resources available, and solution required. One of the areas we specialize is in repurposing oil and gas. Why? Because there are many of the wells available are already in non-economic wells, ready to be plug and abandon, or in the abandonment phase, or soon to be. So with this amount of wells, reduces the capital cost, the front capital cost, for a geothermal project. Right now, the great need for electrification makes this project interesting, especially for countries where are fossil fuel economies. So where these large amount of wells exist, and exists now an opportunity to delay the abandonment and repurposing these assets. So providing a great opportunity for delivering baseload energy, heat, direct heat. So an alternative, or even decarbonizing their own operations. So this concept It's not entirely new. It's
Mhm.
being studied before, perhaps not being implemented because it was not required to need it, or it was not a pressing urgent necessity that as we have now.
Right.
So but for example, just 2 weeks ago, we had a conference. Primeval was a part of the conference of the African Oil Week, where we were exposing this theme at the panel in an oil conference, now energy conference, but basically an oil conference. So it's something that is getting more attention, and
Mhm.
I see it as a great opportunity for to transform these assets.
Right. So because when you have an oil well, you already have a developed infrastructure. So you're not starting from nothing. You're starting from, way ahead out of the gate. You have an infrastructure that's already in place. There's so many wells that, are abandoned or plugged. Where do you see the most, I guess, the low hanging fruit in this industry? What markets do you see?
Well, for example, for just focusing on repurposing oil wells, uh, this is, as we mentioned, this is long hanging fruit. You couldn't put it better. These wells are not all of them. 20% perhaps of the wells are accessible, but this number of wells obviously increase over time,
Mhm,
because what we are perhaps discussing right now where are wells that are not have issues, or they're not um, in terms of reservoir management, they're not really they're with high water cuts, or that are not economics in terms of production, or have a lifting issue, operational issues. So they're part already of the abandonment plan,
mhm,
but this world will increase with time. We are talking about 1950, 1970s rails, 1980s. So
mhm,
as we know, this last year they were adding just I don't know 100,000 of wells. So the rig count is not going down.
yeah,
So continue drilling. Obviously, there are not all the wells will be screened for these processes, but one great number of them will be part of this. The geothermal systems, these wells are accessing geothermal depths. It will not all the geothermal. We are talking about not all the geothermal wells that we are talking about have gradients that are economical or attractive for the conventional geothermal industry. But what we
mhm,
are proposing is low geothermal temperatures. For we are not producing large amount of electricity. We're
mm,
focusing perhaps 1-2 megawatts, depending on the availability of the wells and the systems.
right.
And with this as well, there's another great need for industrial heat, or direct heat application for agricultural purposes, desalination, or hybrid solutions. So all these things that are starting to get into account for these type of projects.
Mhm. So
And
essentially, basically, they could have an abandoned well or as part of their existing infrastructure to continue drilling other wells, say, for example. I mean, is this how it's playing out?
for example, kind of yes, it depends. Like normally these basins where we are talking about, if we're repurposing oil and gas wells,
Yeah.
they are not great gradients. Sometimes you could deepen it and it will reduce the cost, definitely. And you mentioned something you're repurposing assets. And it's not just the well, casings, and all the structure that goes behind. Eh, I will say the amount of information that exists and enabled to de-risk these projects is already a great insight. You know already more or less where you're gonna go, where are the fluid compositions. You know a great deal about these systems already to be repurposed as an asset entirely.
Mhm.
So I, as they say, like I will not propose to drill a new well where I already have hundreds of thousands available, or hundred. Let's say, let's be fair, hundreds available just in one area or region
Yeah.
to be soon to abandon. So
So,
it's
where would be a typical region that you guys are focusing on right now for geothermal?
well for geothermal, for repurposing non economic. We're talking about oil countries, oil and gas producing countries with large amount of wells for
Mhm.
this type of solution and technology. Just
Mhm.
because it comes in an opportunity. The opportunity you have there with the assets. So how to
So,
develop these assets to bring them to the conversation. To the opportunity to carbonize operation is already a great deal as well. So
so we might see operations in Saudi, Abu Dhabi, Aberdeen, Houston, like this. There's these areas.
easily will be onshore areas, and you've seen as well already in Texas. They start talking about this as well.
Right.
Kuwait was already talking about because they each country, even Qatar,
Right.
UAE, and in the Middle East, we already have as well starting a partnership to these type of studies and projects for well conversion, because
Right.
I think people who's already the people in charge in the energy sector in the energy regions
Yeah.
understand the cost of this.
Right.
So it's like a way to, as well to start perhaps diversification of the systems and opening the gate to other type of system without being outside of the solution.
Hmm. So can you break it down for us? Like, say you're setting this up. You're setting up a geothermal well in a previous oil and gas well. What does it take to do that? How do you build that? How what kind of infrastructure do you need to add to the existing infrastructure? How do you successfully create a geothermal well, and how many would you have typically in a project?
That's a very good part. That's part of our expertise, actually. That's part of our projects at Primeval. So what we'll take is we will take your asset, evaluate it as a system itself. The
Mhm.
good deal about being technology agnostic, as we brand ourselves, is like, okay, we will not tell you as a geothermal system, you will go with this technology. You have to be open loop or closed loop system. No, we will evaluate what you have, screen the number of the wells you have, the range, the distance, many factors for part of the reservoir evaluation or system evaluation for your thermal production. With
Mhm.
that comes aquifer depth. Where do you have the completion itself? What will need to change if it's pumps, rates, production history, all this type of information that we will have to integrate and evaluate
Yeah.
under this. And from there, we will, is through reservoir evaluation or similar what is reservoir evaluation, system evaluation, aquifer evaluation for geothermal models is where it comes to place. So the game here, it comes, what is the application of this? What will be the outputs? What type of the good
Mhm.
thing is we have modular systems as well for subsurface infrastructure. So this can add up and start increasing depending in the area.
Yeah.
And as well, we can, depending on the temperature and budget available, if this project needs to be um, included in a hybrid system could be considered. So all this type of, that would be, or kind of a high level evaluation or high level
Right.
um,
So
process for the,
that's essentially everything that Primeval takes care of, is that, that whole assessment. What are the depths? Uh, what's happened in that infrastructure in the past, the aquifer, as you said, production rate. So you guys assess all of that, and then you make a project determination, and you then make a recommendation on how to delineate all of that into a geothermal solution. Is that
Yes,
correct? And you
yes,
just
and we'll go further. We have our implementation as well of the operation. So
right,
we
right,
will our aim goal is to produce energy or heat.
yeah. I mean,
So
and is that's all for on land projects, right? Is this possible offshore?
it's possible offshore. There are expertise and white papers on that. So yes, that's something that can be done.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for different type of applications. So definitely the cost is different. Offshore installations, perhaps for it can be done for um, powering the whole system, heating of the system as well. So
Right,
these type of application that can decarbonize the production in offshore facility. There been
right.
as well conversation with people who are interested in hydrogen with
Mm-hmm.
taking offshore facilities. So all the repurposing of the assets, we will evaluate that one. But
Uh-huh.
definitely, I think it's easier if it's an onshore
Yeah,
because the whole nature of the operation is simpler. But yeah,
gotcha.
that's something.
Or it could be economic and viable in places like the North Sea where they have many, many projects surrounding a certain area. It could be a solution. Maybe that's in the future. But for on land place such as Alberta, like what third largest producer I think in the world, this may be a very, very powerful solution. You guys are gonna need to set up your next office there. I'll
Oh,
help.
that
I'll
will be great.
um, okay. So, in terms of projects that you have you started working on projects now? Where is this working around the world?
We are already a post-revenue startup, so it's a big deal for a startup already. Normally,
Yeah.
our projects are focusing now due to the nature of these projects. We already start working on more in conventional sites. However, a conventional geothermal, which is above 100 degrees, if you may say. So,
Right.
but our expertise apply. I think it is easier to apply it, and as well, we were able to deliver a very good project. Now we are working, or we are starting in the conversation in MOU with projects for well conversion, 100 wells, with temperatures from 80 to 100 degrees. So that's in Australia as well. This project that we have in conversations well in the Middle East. So
Mhm.
soon to be announced. So
Well,
hope, yeah, we're working on that. So
so
we are
people
region.
regions that seem to be progressive, very because especially Australia is very progressive in sustainable energy. So these, forward-thinking regions that are wanting to implement new sustainable solutions are starting to integrate this as a possibility. Um, like as you said, in the Middle East or Australia, that's good to know, good to see. So, how do you guys go about uh, like letting all the energy centers around the world know about this solution? How do you like this is such a new thing? How do you go about disseminating your information and your results and all of that good stuff?
Right now we are very depending on medias like you, like social media and LinkedIn, and as well of a lot goes as well through to these type of conversations where we have to raise awareness or opportunities as well. It's been happening. We do certainly require more marketing and all
Mm-hmm.
these strategies to expand the knowledge. But at the moment, we're focusing with LinkedIn and our contacts, which has been quietly enough at the moment. But of course, we need to scale up this.
Right.
The need in the market, and we're ready to take this. And just coming back to your point, your last point as well, from what I saw or heard from the African all week, all these countries there in the continent, they're interested, and the amount of wells and then requirement, the need for electricity or electrification, as, and the openness to do the projects is something that is quite interesting to observe, and it's
Yeah.
coming soon.
And coupled with that is then, the even more interesting hybrid model. So if you're going to then actually repurpose oil wells with geothermal, and then you stack that with solar and wind as a comprehensive hybrid solution, then you have a whole other ballgame happening. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, hybrid is a great option. Geothermal is a great option for hybrid solutions. Geothermal offers a base load energy 24/7, regardless the weather conditions. So that offers a that will reduce variability in the systems. So
Right.
with that, you ensure that that the output will be constant during in the nights, or I don't know, the
Yeah.
cloudy days.
Right.
So that's a combined technology, really makes a more efficient and
Mm-hmm.
resilient the energy systems. So we're talking about when you work in synergy with solar plants and wind, that's where these kind of trends are going.
Yes.
So perhaps before they were isolated the solar systems, wind farms.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're looking as a hybrid solution. So even the International Energy Agency highlight this as an opportunity, like please, and as the next step. So definitely is something that is coming. I saw it as well as a previous projects. So where we analyze a hybrid system for for an island in
Yeah.
Portugal. So that solution is what really support the electrification needs. So I think I see it as a great way to go, as a pathway.
Right. Yeah. It's a hybrid integration with all of these different models working in tandem as they find a solution for that particular area, region, or project. It makes a lot of sense. So, geothermal has been gaining more attention globally. How do you see repurposed wells contributing to, like, the entire global energy transition? Um, Especially where there's some resistance to that, like where people are saying, oil and gas is it. It's going to be here forever. We have a population explosion, and oil and gas is the answer. Well, how do you see all of those different viewpoints? I guess finding resolution, merging, actually coming out with a global solution.
That's an interesting point. I've seen a change. Globally, we're in a global conversation, and
Yeah.
all the countries are increasing their participation. You have COP29 coming in what, less than 1 month, and now in 1 year will be again the global stock stake. So all these evaluation as the companies and the countries at country level, I see the conversation is being changing, and is as well what's driving industries. So now I don't think all the countries. I really want to be out of this. Even we saw this in the Middle East, in Dubai last year, how extensive was this conversation, and how we in the region they joined the renewable or energy mix without phasing out completely, but major speed, a change of mindset. That was incredible.
Mhm.
To, however, for example, in Primeval. we're looking into tapping these assets.
Yeah.
For abandonment, we have we what we would like to start is with, perhaps if a company wants to start or to convince, or what you need is just starting with few wells to see what you're capable to do in your operations. uh, you will find that this will bring a solution. It's not only about you're already providing decarbonizing your processes, but you're already bringing an opportunity to those liabilities that you were having with these wells. So
Yeah.
that's something that it can be, that can bring to the table as a discussion point. Because in and yes, it's a change of mindset, it's a rethinking process. uh, Sometimes I see that perhaps you will see the resistance with management, but we now see a major support from policymakers, and as well energy as from energy departments, where are taking these decisions and driving these conversations. So
Hmm.
it's kind of a national level coming down to the companies, and I think that's how we're going to see the conversation.
Right.
Definitely, definitely, I hope that even carbon markets get regulated and we accelerate this, and it will be very interesting to see this
Yeah.
change.
It makes sense. I mean, it makes sense for the oil companies. So when you think about the operators, first of all, it's adding to their bottom line when it comes to actually supporting energy for their existing infrastructure. So there's that. It's also helping them decarbonize their current oil operations. So there's that. Plus, it becomes another solution in the, you know, new energy mix as they build new modalities and expand, and especially projects in, I guess, remote locations or where there is, you know, we're in an energy crisis in some parts of the world. So, in particularly vulnerable regions where energy is not meeting demand or political instability, it also kind of adds. It's almost like an added investment into those types of infrastructures, and yeah, adds to the mix. I find it so interesting that this could be one of the primary solutions of the future. I kind of look into it and see it as a scalable initiative. How about you? How do you see it progressing? How do you see it building?
Well, geothermal itself as an industry has been having a growth in the last decade from 4 to 7%. So varies depending who you're quoting, who your source is. And what I like about scaling up of the solution is that, yes, as as in the industry, there are more knowledge, or not more knowledge. I think there are more synergies between the expertise that is already available in the oil and gas industry with the conventional geothermal. That's no doubt. So
Mhm.
methodologies are similar. Data acquisition projects is similar. So with great deal as well of difference in geophysical data or perhaps geochemistry. But in terms of systems, I will say that's perhaps a good synergy we have. There is, and as well, and a great advancement in the technologies. So
Mhm.
now that supports lower temperatures, lower rates, perhaps. So there's an increment and increase on that. So I see that the industry is growing. This is definitely scalable. You have what? I don't remember right now on top of my head. There are millions of wells drilled. So
I was just going
more,
to ask. I was just going to ask you that question. Like, you were talking about wells from the 70s and 80s, but how many abandoned wells are there on the planet?
Well, abandon that it will be necessary to differentiate. Ready to be abandoned, available wells are 20 millions, 20 to 30
20,
millions.
20 million.
Yeah.
Wow.
For well conversion, there will be, I think, they were quoting 20% of them will be
20,
ready for
20,
for conversion, like
20,
without.
20% of the 20 million would be ready for
Yeah.
conversion.
So
Okay.
that's something that you can start tapping into that. So that's
Mhm.
already, as you mentioned, a long hanging fruit, and perhaps for geothermal industry, this is something that is starting, but
Right.
is something that is going to grow. You saw different technologies as well.
Mhm.
Um, that's been going even in the oil and gas industry, something that before was not economic, now is economic. So the need for this type of energy is something of for renewable energy is what is we're looking into.
Right. Gotcha. So for companies that are curious about this, or countries, operators, that kind of thing, they're looking at this. Like, what advice do you have for them in terms of getting started on
Yes.
repurposing oil and gas wells to geothermal?
I will say like joining the conversations in the global conversation is difficult as well. I think for oil and gas operator to rethink to repurpose these assets, you need to rethink their business model as well. So it's not seeing like, oh no, it's not the same return like the returns is not economic. No, perhaps is a different challenge. It is how I see it. If is a great way to approach this problem,
Mm.
starting by joining decarbonizing your operations. That's
Yeah.
always that's an easy start. Uh,
Right.
Supporting the energy grid, off-grid operations. You don't know how your which requirements your country has or your area or region. So it's these
Mhm.
type of things. For example, there's great deal with food production as well. For and geothermal, these wells can support for direct heat applications as well for water desalination projects. So where water scarcity is going to be an issue, already you start thinking about that and proposing a good solution. So I don't see as a no. If it's not oil and gas, we cannot do that. You need to think about this.
Mhm.
Um, and bring it to the table, and perhaps not once, many times. And we've been in these positions where I propose these projects, and the first thing, like, no, it's not economic. Like, we don't think. And you have to go many, many doors until one, there are people who's super open to these projects. So, and they wanted to do it, and you just need to continue. And
Right.
I will start as well to as a normal company has, evaluating their assets, what they have, what are the opportunities, because this brings an extension, increase and extend the life of the company. So definitely, I'm bringing part of the conversation, which is required now.
Mhm. Do you guys have anything in place like where you can use AI or your website system where people can just punch in, I have so and so abandoned wells and just like get a preliminary look with that, by punching in a set of variables and just saying,
No,
"Oh, you have X
n-
amount of potential." That's not
n-
here yet.
not here yet, and I will take it with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
It is similar as a system. It's a
Yeah.
reservoir system. They're not all homogeneous. They're
Yeah.
not all the same ingredients. So,
Too many
uh,
variables, too many moving
yes,
parts to be able to do that accurately. Yeah, got
I
it.
I hope definitely that there's gonna be robust systems soon. I don't say no, but if you have these, there's the amount of data you have, or sometimes we don't have any data as well. We've been in working with green fields, or green projects. So
Yeah.
as you may say, so I will, and I've been asked this as a geoscientist. Like, I will be like, yes, great. I don't
Not
know.
worth
I will have my that but something that we really do is uncertainty analysis and risk evaluation. So we take all this consideration and we will help your project to de-risk it.
Right. So, in your estimation, having looked at abandoned wells around the world, where do you think is the best, absolute, say, top five regions to work on these projects? So the most amount of abandoned wells, the place that's most likely to adapt or adopt this new geothermal oil well repurposing.
Well, for I'm not sure about location, but I will go with policies then and
Okay.
availability. So these projects, some of these projects require, or as any energy projects right
Yeah.
now, if we're I kind of stagnant in the rate, in the rate of growth that it's required, is
Yeah.
because policies, shocking
Right.
enough. So
Yeah.
a lot of this has to go with power purchase agreement, grid infrastructure. Even if you have off-grid solutions, you're not able to plug in or use it because it's not
Mhm.
regulated. And
Right.
right now, the pressing need for our solutions, as well as financing. So
Mhm.
if you have this combination of good financing, good power purchase agreement, a good policy, I think that's the best place to go. And
Makes
there
sense.
countries who are looking already into that because they already realize that perhaps their assets are not the best anymore, and
Mhm.
they want to start diversification into their energy system. So
Right.
they already have this conversation. I will start with them,
Mhm.
and yeah, there's all other things that you may want to check as well. The application, can you bring other type of industries into these areas, our
Right.
neighborhoods that can be, or cities towns that can be benefit from this energy production? Can you start having a, for example, greenhouse area in this establishing here? Is it possible? Many of these, they already have infrastructure, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
roads built, even access to the power grids, because they need these fields, they require power. So you already
Right.
have many of the points. So what
Yeah.
you need, perhaps, and many of the needs is coming from policies and regulations. So
Mhm.
we're kind of like ready to start and ready to go and expand, but this is what I see where the conversation is going in the next couple of years.
Right. Yeah. So it's more about, making sure that they have all of those policies and procedures, and even things like environmental approvals, they change slightly when you go to adapt it to this new geothermal methodology. Yeah. So it's like you have to get all your ducks in a row and then execute. Just like any oil and gas project, really.
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And I see it's a great opportunity, I think, for oil and gas, just to start the carbonization, start
Yeah.
saving energy as well. If you don't want to talk about CO2 savings or emission saving, start with diesel, or from the generators that they are using for the operation. So those are already savings. So
Yeah.
uh,
Well, for companies that have a mandate to get to net zero, this is a primary
that
solution for.
will be that's the goal. That's the end goal. And I hope it pass the message soon. It's about, as they say, triple renewables. We are bringing all the solutions. Like that, um, I don't see that we're gonna require less energy. We're gonna we're or
We're gonna.
we're
That's. continue to grow. Yeah.
Yes, so a good solution to decarbonize the process is just a non a no discussion for many of, like, it's a good solution.
Makes perfect sense to me. And I think we just need to market it to the oil and gas companies around the globe, and we're off to the races. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Is there anything else you wanted to let our viewers know about Primeval Energy, the work you're doing in geothermal, how to reach out to you specifically to inquire about their project?
Well, thank you so much for having me today. And well, whatever our viewers, your needs in the company are, we're Primeval, we would like to hear about your projects or your ideas. I'm pretty sure we understand where we talk crazy ideas. We're a very open, creative company with solutions, not about marketing things or marketing technology. We're about bringing a solution to the table. We're here to support, and we're looking to hear about your projects, your challenges, and how to make them happen.
Yes.
So, yes, that's something that we would like to participate and be part of it in all the regions. I hope we can start conversation in Canada. We will let you know, and you
Yeah.
can follow on our website, which is primevalenergy.com. So,
Uh-huh.
please, as well, we have our
Primeval-energy.com.
energy.com.
Yes.
And
Perfect. And reach out to
we
Tania. She's
yeah,
our resident expert in the geothermal area. So for sure. The only difference is for us is your time zone is a little bit different, but that's okay. It all gets done in
no
20.
worries. We would like to as well follow us on LinkedIn. Many of our announcements we're doing it there because it reach out, and the it just amplify the message. And as well, we try to join the conversation in conference and bring this awareness and increase. And we would like to hear about how to support you and your projects. So
Yes.
this is the main goal.
Perfect. Excellent. So thank you so much, everybody out there, for listening, tuning in today to the OGM podcast. And a huge thanks to Tania for shedding light on new geothermal solutions by repurposing non-economic oil and gas wells. I think it's a huge conversation. I think it's going to be a huge part of our future. So stay tuned to those developments. It's exciting to see how traditional infrastructure can be used to drive sustainable future, get oil companies back to net zero, and really play a critical role in how we advance in the new energy mix. So I've really enjoyed this episode. I've learned so much. I hope our viewers did as well. Yeah, that's it for now. I'm your host, Tina Olivero. Thank you again, Tania. Until next time, everybody, over and out.
Bye.